Hi, this is Mashnu, and I want to show you now the last game that I played, so the third game of the Moira chess tournament that I played a few weeks ago. Um, After two rounds, I had 1.5 point, so that was more than I expected already. Because looking at the ratings of the participants, I was the lowest rated player with 1832, and my opponents were one was 1867 and the two others were just below 2000. So I was very happy to have already 1.5 point, and this meant that in this last round, if I could win or draw this game, I would have a chance to win the first prize. So I played d4 here, and I decided actually to play an aggressive system, because I thought even if I lose this game, I'm still happy with the total result of the tournament. So I had the feeling that I had nothing to lose, and I could simply go for a nice attacking game. So I played g4 here. This is a very aggressive variation that white wants to open this g file, sacrificing a pawn. So if knight takes g4, rook to g1 opens the g file, and my opponent decided to take on c4 here. I played g5, the knight goes to d5, and I took on c4. Now queen to e7 was played, and here I made a big mistake actually. Well, a positional mistake, let me put it this way, because in many Queen's Gambit positions, the problem for black is to find a good way to develop this bishop on this light square bishop on c8, because it's, let's say, locked into this pawn structure, this pawn chain of black. And what I did here is I was worried about this knight eventually coming to b4. So what I did is I played knight takes d5, but he retook with the e-pawn, of course, so now his bishop from c8 can go out of the pawn chain and find a good square at, for example, g4 or f5 or something like that. So after this, I wasn't that happy. He played knight to b6 here, rook to g1. My idea was to be able to play with my knight from f3 without leaving the pawn on g5 undefended. Bishop to e6, bishop d2, and here it cancelled queenside. And a, let's say, safe, slow approach for this position for white would be to cancel queenside. I didn't do this, but this looks well, let's say equal for in this position. But I actually had the idea that I could now start an attack with a4. So my idea is to play a5 and a6, exchange the b pawn, the b7 pawn, for my a6 pawn, and then c6, the c6 pawn would become weak. But it's a misjudgment, because black has defensive resources that are very strong, like going with the king to b8 and then placing a rook on c8, and then advancing the pawn from c6 to c5, opening the c file. And that's a plan that I didn't consider when I played a4. I didn't see that he had these possibilities. My opponent played knight to c4 here. I played a5, king to b8 as said, b3. He took now on d2. I took with the king, and now he played c5. So it was after this move by black c5 that I realized that my plan of attack was going to backfire, probably, if my opponent places a rook on c8 and controls the c file. I took on c5, and after bishop takes c5 I played knight to d4. So at least after exchanging these two pawns, I have brought my knight a little closer to the black king, so more pieces to that area. Rook to c8. Now I played queen to b2, and it looks here as if black can win the exchange by bishop to b4, check, and after king to e2, bishop c3, attacking the queen and the rook on e1. But it's not true. It happened in the game. Bishop b4, king e2, bishop c3, attacking two pieces, the queen and the rook behind the queen. But I still have a solution here, and that's queen to a3. I'm attacking the queen on e7. And if he takes on a3, of course I retake with the rook, so then I don't lose the exchange. My opponent played here queen to c7, and I thought here for quite a long time about saving my rook by playing, for example, rook a to c1, but I decided to continue the attack and sacrificing simply this rook by playing a6. He took on a1, I took on b7, and I had calculated a few lines, and they were all based on the idea that my opponent would retake on b7. What I didn't see is that my opponent has an in-between move. He can retake now with the bishop on d4 first. My idea was that if queen takes b7, then I could take on a1, and I would have all my pieces in the direction of the king here. So this would be, I thought, enough compensation for the exchange, the sacrifice exchange. But in the game, he didn't take on b7. He surprised me by taking on d4, and I didn't consider this option. Now I took on c8, promoting to a second queen. Rook takes c8, and now I took on d4, and he took on h2. So now things start getting worse for white, because the queen is attacking g1, and the black rook is on this open c file. I gave a check on b4 here. He went to a8, and now I played bishop to a6, threatening mate on b7, and my opponent played rook to c2 check. I played king to d1, attacking the rook. He took on g1 check, and I took the rook on c2. And at this moment I was already calculating queen takes f2, and I thought that, I'm sorry, not queen takes f2, but bishop to f5 check. That's what I was calculating, and I thought this is going very, very wrong. He's going to checkmate me, and I didn't find any solution. But to my surprise, he played queen takes f2 check, and that gives me the possibility of using the dark squares to escape with my king to a3. After queen h2 check, king a3, there are no more checks, and I'm still threatening mate on b7. So he played queen to b8. I played queen c5, threatening queen to c6 check, followed by mate. So the only solution for black is to play queen to b6, and then I gave a check on f8, and I have perpetual check now. So I offered him a draw here, and he accepted, and this is how I managed to end on the first place in this this 4 players tournament. Let's go back now to this position where he could have done better, and that's here. So here, instead of queen takes f2, first bishop to f5 check. The idea is that white controls now the light squares here, so his bishop has become more active. If now the king goes to, let's say, d2, now queen takes f2, and I have a problem. I cannot go to c3 because of queen c2 checkmate. I cannot go to c1 because of the same reason. So I have to put my bishop in between here. I have no more mating threat here, so black can continue with queen to f4. And it's not completely decided yet, of course. I can still play king to d1, but black has more activity than what happened in the game, so he can still play and try to go for a win because he has more material. And I was actually quite lucky that my opponent didn't play bishop to f5, but he played bishop to f2, takes f2 check, and then I could use this mating threat on b7 to force a perpetual check and a draw. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video, and leave your comments on YouTube. Goodbye.